Before I could start the final assembly, I still needed to paint a couple pieces. Firstly, I masked off the clear parts in order to paint the black border, then unmasked the rear half to paint with a clear smoke paint to tint it. With the first light pass of the smoke done, I let it sit for about 5 minutes to cure and then applied a second coat of smoke. The clear parts got some time to cure before moving on to assembly, so I still needed to do some other stuff as well, and that was to paint the window rubbers. I decided not to mask it off as the panel lines are really shallow and I don't think masking would have done a really nice job on them, so I just took the chance and did it by hand. Most of the major parts and pieces have now been painted and detailed, so I could move on to some assembly. The main clear part got glued in after I glued the window wipers on. I could then also glue in the rear view mirror and start mounting the body, chassis and interior together. The clear part for the tail lights received some red from a permanent marker and also a black edge to simulate the rubber, then some silver lining on the backing to give it a more brighter look for the clear red, and then I also decided to paint all the other buckets for the lights with the same silver as well, while I still had it on the brush. Once the paint was cured to the touch, I could move on to gluing all these clear parts in. In order to reinforce the mirrors mounting to the body, I decided to drill a small hole in the body and also in the mirror itself and insert a small metal pin to strengthen it a bit. In the kit itself, you get supplied some exhaust tips. I think they are a bit too small and don't really suit the style of this build, so I decided to add some aftermarket ones from Scale Production. The stock wheels are supposed to be mounted with this metal rod. You just slide it in from one end to the other, and there you have the stock ride height. Now the stock ride height, there's nothing wrong with it if you're building it stock, but if you're going a bit custom, it's a bit high, so you want the wheel to sit a bit lower inside of the wheel well and not have that big of a gap. So I drilled a hole a bit lower on in the wheel well to fit that same rod and thereby lower the car. I just used a pin vise and some drill bits and then drilled the holes in the exact positions that I needed it to be lowered. And after, of course, lowering it in the rear, the front also needed some lowering, so the same procedure took place. I just drilled a hole lower than the original one and slid the pin in place, and after that I could start mounting the wheels with some new disc brakes. I mentioned in the last video that the kit does not supply you with any disc brakes, so I took some ones from Fujimi. They come with a lot of the aftermarket wheel sets and sometimes even have multiples in a kit, so I had some spares laying around. They fit around the hubs for the wheels and then glued them in place, and also mounted the wheels as well with the new lowering position on those metal rods with the polycaps. After mounting all 4 wheels, there was one detail left to do, and that was to paint the inside of the exhaust with some black to hide some of the details that it's not really an actual exhaust, of course. So after mounting the wheels and taking some pictures of the finished product, I wasn't really too sure about these wheels. I like the color, I like the style, but they were a bit too big. So I decided to downgrade a bit to an 18-inch wheel, and I think it looks a lot better. I did not paint them, I left them in the chrome finish they came in the kit or the aftermarket box from Aoshima, and I kinda like it. It adds to the style, gives a bit of a gangster look to the car. Although I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it this way, maybe I decide to paint it in the future, but I will keep you updated. As to now, I'm just leaving them in the stock silver, as I kinda like the look.